This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And this Two Bad Hombres episode is brought to you by both Top Cat Sales and Legacy Football. Top Cat Sales is the premier apparel distribution company for all your team apparel needs, specializing in tons of apparel brands, including Adidas, and headed by former U of M Rose Bowl winning quarterback John Wangler, who has brought tons and tons of great credibility to the company since its very first year of existence. Now, to join the Top Cat family and to go all in with Top Cat, you can call up Top Cat Monday through Friday at 248-246-1054. Once again, the phone number is 248-246-1054. And remember to follow Top Cat Sales on Twitter at Team Top Cat. And now to our newest sponsor in Legacy Football. And the Legacy Football organization was founded in 2009. It is a premier off-season development program in the state of Michigan, the Midwest, and the country. And it features a ton of former NFL and collegiate players, including the guest on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres, former MSU All-American and Super Bowl champion Greg Jones. To find out more information about Legacy Football, please contact National Director for Football Justin Cesante or go to www.legacyfootballorg.com.
I was trying to get it out here. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired.
And we're still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churko, alongside my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is the Doc from Doc and Jack, John Charles Macaroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, I love this week. There's no better week in college football than Michigan State week. And this week we got a great guest in studio representing Michigan State. I'm so thankful that you called me and said, look, we got a guest in to talk football. Who is it this week?
Former Michigan State linebacker Greg Jones, who played with Sparty from 2007 to 2010. And you played for Dantonio in his first season as head coach at MSU as well, which is just something to me.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing. And honestly, I get so right now, if you notice, right, they have some of the coolest uniforms for both sides, right? But more particularly Michigan State. And when I got to Michigan State, Coach D was like, we're going to be a tradition. We're not wearing all green. We're not wearing black. We're not doing anything. It's going to be green and white, just like it was. And now they have all green. The bronze, all that stuff, and the uniform with the black, it's so awesome, man. But at the same time, I'm so jealous too. But what he's done at Michigan State since he's been there, it's been nothing but short of amazing to me. In the short span he's been there, but it's awesome to see that, and we have a very, very good relationship. And he talks and he texts and he calls me every now and then and just says, "I'm thinking of you," and. It's really cool, I feel like I don't know, but I feel like most aren't doing that, But he is, and he's reaching out to us, and he makes us feel a part of it. He does.
So we'll dive more into your Spartans career in a little bit because there's a lot to talk about, obviously. But John, by the way, Greg just turned 30.
Yeah,
big birthday.
Thank you.
So happy belated birthday to you as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
How was that? Did you live it up and have a big bash?
You know what? No, I didn't. I'm not a big bash type of guy, to be honest with you, because it's just so stressful trying to put things together and all that stuff. But my wife and I had a nice dinner. Went and saw Kevin Hart in town on the same day, which was perfect. And then unfortunately, we went to Michigan State. We had a loss versus Northwestern that week. But yeah, other than that though, man, it was really, really awesome. It was exactly what 30 should be. Super chill, nothing crazy. Had a good time. It was awesome.
Well, John, you've already seen 32. A couple of years ago. I'll just say a couple of years ago to be nice to you, but
there you go.
Make it sound good.
A little bit more experience.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what was it like being on campus for homecoming? It's so special to go back to East Lansing. What was that experience like for you this year?
It was awesome, and it was it was kind of ironic in a sense because my first start was against Northwestern on homecoming, and we also lost because I take full responsibility. I let a screen pass go for 80 yards, and I'll never ever forget that to the day I die. But yeah, it was very cool to go back. I love seeing all the other players and everything, getting to interact with them at homecoming. Oh my goodness, Big Flozo Adams had a huge tailgate for all the alumni there. It was awesome. It really was, and got to meet a lot of new people and network and everything. But I love it, man. You win, lose or draw, I love going back to Spartan Stadium and having a blast and just watching. I'm not a guy that likes to, if it's cold or if it's too hot, whatever. I like to be right in the mix of things and see everything. But yeah, it's awesome.
And you hail all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes.
And you live in the state of Michigan, though.
Yes, I live in the state of Michigan now, full time. We did not go back to Ohio. My wife, she took me out. Her parents have a boat up north, and they took me on that boat, man. I just fell in love with it, man. And ever since then, I'm like, I really don't want to go to any place else. If I go somewhere else, it's going to be really warm, that's for sure. But other than that, though, I love Michigan. I love the change of the seasons here, but it's really my kind of town. I really feel like, it reminds me very, very, I know people hate to say it, but it's somewhat similar in Ohio a little bit, some places here and there. So like I said, we don't have the water, though. But, yeah, it's really, really cool.
So why did you end up playing football? And what's your earliest memory of playing football as well?
Wow. I just spoke at Lanford High School, and I was talking about my first practice, though. But to go back farther, I was in karate. All right, I was a blue belt. I was making my way up, right, and I had to spar my sensei, and I punched him right in the mouth.
Oh.
And my mom didn't know how to react. Because, I was the only child, and she wanted me to be tough and everything. And she said, I get that you want to, participate and be active, but you can't hit your sensei in the mouth, okay? And I said, well, I want to be in something where I can. And, I asked about football, right? And she said no. And I was like, all right. And then I was at school a little bit later down the line, and I saw this flyer for football, and I asked my mom again. And then she said no. But my dad came home a little bit later than her. So right after that, I took that flyer. He got home, and I gave it to him. And he took me to play against sports. And he snuck me out in the field. And at the end of the practice, my mom was there waiting. She said, "You're going to keep doing this, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." And the rest was history. My mom is still, I don't care what anybody says, she is the loudest fan.
Look at that.
In the building. She I can hear her from anywhere, seriously. And so she became my biggest supporter. I mean, even in retirement, she's always like, "Are you sure you're done? You sure you want to give it one more shot?
Mm-hmm.
I know you still want to play." And I'm like, I'm done. My body has taken its toll, and mentally, I have a 4 and a 3-year-old, and beautiful wife at home that I love spending my time with, and that's all I want to be now, is just be the best husband that I can possibly be.
So doing karate led to playing football and to hitting people.
It did, because I went to linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad, when I started playing, one of the reasons why I chose linebacker more full time, my dad took me to a Bengals game. I'm still a diehard Bengals fan, but conversely, we went to Bengals versus the Ravens game, and who was playing Ray Lewis. And so I was like, I saw him play, and he was just tearing people up, and I was like, that's what I want to do. My dad wanted me to play running back. One of his favorite players growing up was Sweetness, Walter Payton, and he showed me film, and I played a little running back, but, man, the biggest thing I wanted to do, though, was just I want to tackle and hit people, man. So, I was just, like I said, I was talking to that high school, and it made me miss football so much, man, just so much.
So you wanted to lay some hits, obviously,
Man.
and you became a tackles machine. I believe you
A
led
little
Michigan
State
State all 4 years in
4
tackles,
years,
too, which is
all
crazy.
4 years, which was crazy. Coming in, I wasn't highly touted. I was a 2-star, and I just got my 3rd star because I committed to Michigan State. I remember I'm like, man, like if I can just get on the team, get on the field, I can prove myself. And it didn't start out great. You know, my first 2 scrimmages, I was just telling the guys, my first scrimmage I had 13 minuses.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I had 8 tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next scrimmage I had 7 minuses, and eventually by the time we got to practice stuff, I had almost 0 to maybe one mental error or mistake. And but yeah, it was an amazing process to go through that, you know. And it wasn't that hard. I think the hardest part about starting, especially as you're younger, is that you have to earn the respect of the older guys. They're those juniors and seniors, right? But when you're a freshman, you know, trying to make that happen, it was very, very tough. I mean, these guys were dropping me off at practice. You get what I'm saying? So it was really, really cool to be a part of that, though. But, you know, I just kept my head down, kept working.
Take us through the recruiting process. How did you end up at Michigan State? Was that your first choice to attend and play college football?
Yes. The recruiting process was tough. I was getting a lot of letters, everything, but no real offers. And then my senior year came, and you know, I've been talking to Coach D a lot. He wanted me really bad at the University of Cincinnati, and you know, I said no. You know, towards the end of my junior year and going into my senior year, I had my first offer from the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and you know, I had a great conversation with Kerry Bailey, and he was my recruiter, and I had a great conversation with Glenn Mason at the time. He was the head coach at the time, and it was awesome. And eventually I committed. It was my opportunity to play in the Big Ten, and then the bowl game happened. They were up, I believe, either 35-7 or 45-7. I can't remember. But they played Texas Tech, and Michael Crabtree had about 3 or 4 touchdowns unanswered, and they lost that game. And after that, Glenn Mason was let go that very next day, and they hired Brewster, and I just didn't see eye to eye with what his vision that he had for me. Not to say he's a bad or good guy or anything, we just didn't see eye to eye on that stuff. But and then Coach D got the job to go to Michigan State after John L. Smith left, and the rest was history after that. It really was. And you know, he said, come up for a visit. You know, I'm taking you and Garrick Selleck, Garrick, who still plays for the 49ers now. And he took us, and we went on a visit, and it was amazing. And I fell in love with it. And, you know, then they offered me, and I started getting some more. And right after that, I started getting all types of offers from everywhere. Ended up with about 7 or 8 offers from Division I. And you know, I got an offer from NC State late, and I told Coach D, I said, I'm not going to go to NC State. I just want to go there for a visit and have some fun. He says, listen, if you go there, I want to take a scholarship. He says, just come back, come see a game, and come hang out here. It'd be great. And I did, and I fell in love, and I committed, and that was it.
So what was Dantonio's sales pitch to you to get you to State?
Honestly, he said that I would have a shot to play as a freshman. And at that level, at that stage, and that's all I wanted. I knew I could prove myself from there, and he gave me that shot, and I didn't let him down.
How much did he change from year one when you started there to your senior season in his 4th year in East Lansing?
Wow, he changed a lot, you know, and for the better. He first, it was kind of like, you know, it was a removal process. You know, he cleared all the bad weeds, you know, and you know, there were some guys that he had to get rid of, and you know, and don't get me wrong, they were good guys that just didn't fit the team, and he had to get rid of those guys. And then the next year, my sophomore year, was about, you know, continue to earn our respect, and then my junior year, it was about shining in the spotlight, and we had that year where we lost like several games by 1 or 2 points, you know what I mean, and we very easily could have been a top 5 team that year in the nation, but we just lost the close games. And then our senior year, his motto, you know, was about executing and finishing, and we just started finishing teams, and you know, led to 10-2. Obviously did not play very well against Alabama my senior year. But him changing, though, I mean, it was a process. It was like we were growing with him together, and he learned a lot about us. He learned a lot about himself, And he really he helped mold that team that year, at least that class. So it was so awesome. It was cool.
Now, when you say weeding out the bad guys, are you saying guys that maybe were me first guys, or guys that maybe now that there's a new scheme didn't fit in? What did you mean specifically by Mark Dantonio had a job to do that first year of maybe molding the team more in his vision?
It was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of both. We had guys that thought that extracurricular was more important than the team, and then we also had guys that just did not fit the scheme, and whether it be body type or whatever the case may be, or athleticism and talent, one of the two. But yeah, it was a little bit of both. But it was one of those things that I was like, man, like I hope I'm one of the guys that fit the team, and I was. But yeah, it was an attitude adjustment too. I think that was the biggest thing, was that some guys just had horrible attitude, didn't want to change, didn't want to fit in, always asking questions, just I'm like, man, like if we all bought in, what could happen, because athletically we had a lot of gifted players, we did though, but I mean you had guys that were just in other stuff other than what you came there to do.
So in 2009, your junior season,
Yeah.
you had a hell of a season.
Yeah.
You really did. Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
You had multiple National Linebacker of the Year
Yeah.
honors.
Yeah.
You had a Big Ten leading amount of tackles
Right.
as well. You
Right.
did it all. And like
Right.
you said, you had a lot of close calls as a team. But for you as a junior with all of those individual accolades,
Yeah.
what kind of a season was that for you?
Man, it was an amazing thing, and one thing that I remember. So I would like to actually to set the stage for my junior year. I like to talk about my sophomore year. Really sorry, my freshman year too. So my freshman year I went freshman All-American, right? Led my team in tackles, all that good stuff. I was one of like few players that ever do that Division I. I did that, and then I got to my sophomore year, I decided to kick it, relax, not work as hard, and just rely on my God-given ability, which was a horrible mistake because, and I tell people this a lot, I was a 3-time All-American, 3-time All-Big Ten, and had I stayed with the focus that I had, I could have very easily been a 4-time All-American and 4-time All-Big Ten. But the reason that led to my junior year, because I grinded and worked my butt off so hard in that off season of my or before leading into my junior year. I said I would not have another thing like that. It happened to me again, and that's where all that came from. Just a continuous grind, keep my nose to the ground, stay out the party scene. In the summer, just work and grind and make it happen, do whatever it takes, and read and film and do everything, and make sure my grades were good and not lacking anything that could possibly happen. And 2009 happened, man, and I was all over the place. I felt good, my body was feeling good. I didn't have any health issues at all. I just felt great, and I was focused. I was focused, and I know I wasn't technically a captain that year, but I was a leader on that team, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a leader on that team, but you have to work for that.
Did you think about leaving State after that to enter the NFL draft because of how great of a season you had?
Without a doubt.
So what made you stay at State then for your senior campaign?
It was. I'm not gonna lie, man. That off season was, I think, one of the most difficult off seasons I've ever had in my career. I was losing sleep. It was hard for me just to stay focused. You look at draft boards and you're hearing calls, and Greg Jones could be a first rounder, a second rounder. I think he should stay a year. If he left now, he would be a sixth. All these, every single thing you could possibly imagine. Agents calling, everything. Everybody's trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Literally, people just calling, hey, what are you going to do? What are you thinking about doing? And it was tough. And then my father sat me down, and he said, listen, he says, you're going to play NFL either this year or next year, but what can you sleep with at the end of the day? And it was, and I looked and I thought about that for such a long time, because it was so simple, but it was very hard. And when he said that to me, I thought about, I could sleep. Don't get me wrong, money is money, I get it. But at the end of the day, like what is going to be said about me at this school will last for a long time. Not about how much money I made. Like that's great and everything, but what you did. And I would go back and look at that wall with all the Big Ten champions and everything, and I said, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do, along with, working closer to finishing my degree as well, too. But at the same time, no, I wanted a legacy that's going to last forever. And that's why I came back my senior year, because I wanted a legacy that's going to last forever. And I knew I had the right guys in the room to do so. I mean, I had a guy like Kirk Cousins is my quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, I had the right guy on offense to lead that team, lead that side of the team as well, too. And so at the end of the day, that's why I came back. And more personal, that's why I wanted to do, because I wanted that legacy at the end of the day.
How did Coach Dantonio handle that? How did he address that with you when you had to talk with him?
He drove to Cincinnati to meet with me. He drove 4.5 hours to meet with me. And, I prayed about it, and I told my parents my decision and everything, and they were happy about it as well, too. So when Coach D got there, he was ecstatic. He was pumped, and so it was a good trip from him, you know what I mean? And he was a guy, he laid everything out. He was honest. He was like, some teams come in here and they ask about you, and some teams don't, so I can't gauge whether or not, where you're at right now. I know you will get drafted if you did leave. I'm not telling you when you'll get drafted, because nobody knows that, but at the same time, no, anything can happen, right? Like, I could go back, I could break every bone in my body, anything, right? And so it was a lot to think about, but at the same time, man, I knew where my heart was at. I knew what I wanted to do, and I'm happy with my decision. I think a lot of times people ask, like, oh, what about the money you left on the table? I said, what money was there? There was nothing promised to me. There was zero. There's nothing promised to me. I mean, I could go in the second round and make a lot of money, but I could also, what happens if I go and I never win a Super Bowl, right?
And you won a Super Bowl, so it worked out in that respect as well, professionally. Yeah,
right, because after that, that's all gravy, because, you can make money doing anything. Everybody knows that, and so, that's one of the things that I think about today, is that, like, I'm very happy with my decision. There was nothing. I think I learned a lot too in that process too. So it was great, man. I have no issues about that at all.
Well, you planned it out perfectly. Yeah. Not that you could have, but in 2010, you guys claim a share of the Big Ten championship. So you come back to win a Big Ten title, and you get a share of the Big Ten title in your senior campaign.
Right.
Pretty much leaving on top. Well, almost leaving on top, right?
Right.
But describe that season, and when did you know that you guys had a shot at winning the Big Ten?
I knew we had a shot in training, believe it or not, actually before training camp. So in that summer, all the guys start showing up to all the 7v7s, extra lifts, runs, everything. And not only just showing up, but they gave amazing effort. All the seniors were all in agreement. We're gonna harp on our young guys to do things. We're gonna harp on our young guys to be involved in special teams, and to make sure, not only that too, but make sure they know where they fit in there and that they're part of our team. And so when I saw that happening from a mentality standpoint, I knew we had a shot. It wasn't so much in the games, like the game is the game, right? But the true game is won, right? And well before you play that game. And so that's when I knew we were going to have a shot of that title.
And then speaking of young guys on that team, and, you wanted to get them to buy in, and guys were. Well, Le'Veon Bell was a freshman on that 2010 team.
Yes.
And look at what he became since.
Oh, my goodness.
What was it like playing alongside him, and did you envision him ever becoming as good as he has become with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Man, Le'Veon, man, when he first got there, he was a little bit chubbier than he was now. But he could stick and move like no other, man. I was like, I knew then he would be special. He never backed down from anything. Like, he would, when we did one-on-ones or anything, he would challenge you, man. He didn't care who he was going against. His mindset was that he was going to win. And so I had a lot of respect for him at an early start, man. And so to see where he's become now is without a doubt in question that was what he wanted. Now the amount of success that he is having in the NFL, like, I don't think anybody really saw that coming out. I mean, we knew that he was going to be great, but what he's been able to do and make himself as one of the top running backs in the league, maybe the top running backs to ever really play the game, that's just tough to really to to say that you knew that coming, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
He was a second rounder.
Right.
So think about it. Wasn't a first round talent, well, based on where he was drafted, and now what he's become, and now he's held out for all these weeks in the NFL regular season. I got to ask you about that. What are your thoughts?
Killing my fantasy, man.
And he's killing all of our fantasy teams.
My fantasy,
I know,
man.
right? He's killing everybody's fantasy
Le'Veon,
team.
man, just let
Please
me
get
know.
back, right?
Send me a text.
Unless you have James Conner. Unless you have him, then you're doing all right.
I don't have James Conner. I mean, I'm in a few different leagues. I got Saquon. I got Joe Mixon from the Bengals.
They've done well, but they're not Le'Veon Bell and what he's produced fantasy-wise, right?
You know what I'm saying? Because he can run and catch. So, in PPR leagues, he's a killer. He was easily a first-round draft pick, and then that happened. I was like, good God Almighty. But anyhow, man, it's my thoughts are this: is that at that position for running back is one of the toughest to play. It really is, and almost at any level, but especially in the NFL. And he has to set a standard because he's a little, like you say, he's a little younger than me. He's obviously in this prime right now, but I gotta say he's playing for the future. And I get that, and the next contract he signed is going to be obviously a longer one, but. Yeah, he's playing for the future, and I respect that, and I get that. It just, for me, I'm like, man, it's hard to turn down $800,000 a week.
Which is what he's doing. It's a sacrifice, but he's looking to get paid handsomely long term, right?
Which I believe. And hopefully, he's okay, and nothing happens in the process from there, though. But yeah, I honestly wish the best for him, and I understand where he's coming from, and that's okay. I get it. I just wanted a heads up for fantasy.
I don't know. Come on, look over your fantasy football owners. What's more important, your pocketbook or us? All joking aside,
I know, right?
We're all hurt by it. We all are if we have them on our teams.
I've been getting crushed, man. Somebody just tried to trade Le'Veon for Saquon to me today. I said, "There's no way, man.
No, you can't give up on Le'Veon.
Yeah,
no,
dude. He can't give Le'Veon. I can't give up on Saquon. So I'm like, there's no way, man. There's no way.
I don't blame you for thinking that way. And then, so Kirk Cousins has gotten paid, and now with the Vikings as their starting quarterback, obviously.
Yes.
What was he like as a teammate at Michigan State?
Oh, man, I was just saying this earlier. He was awesome. As a freshman, he was very different. Wasn't like as talkative as he is now, but as a freshman, he was very, very different. I'll never forget this. He was the only, I want to say draft pick. He was the only recruit as a freshman, incoming freshman, because I got there early as well too. But he was the only one to bring a dry erase board. He's the only one.
Wow, very unique guy. Yes. You knew right then and there he was pretty darn unique.
Wow.
Huh? Yeah.
I mean, he was drawing up plays in his room. He didn't go out, nothing, didn't hang out, anything like that. But yeah, he was the only one to do that. And I think that's when I knew he was going to be very special. And then he just started to really mold himself and become a bigger and bigger leader. Obviously big in his faith as well, too. In that aspect. But, yeah, just a great guy, and we've been able to stay in touch here and there. Obviously not as much now during the season, but we talking all season every now and then, too.
And back to you and your playing career.
Yes.
So you ended up getting drafted by the New York Football Giants,
right.
And then you won a Super Bowl championship as a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, how great is that? Doc and I would die for that almost. I mean, there's so many players that would love that opportunity. You had that opportunity as a rookie with Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin. And how was that season? How crazy of an experience and great of an experience was that for you?
Man, that whole season was it was nuts, man. It really was. So let's go from the beginning. It was a lockout year, right? I mean, we got that one guy told me, he says, I got drafted. He says, "You think you're going to play this year?" And I said, "Without a doubt, I'm going to play this year."
Because players were worried, but you weren't worried.
No,
you weren't worried at all.
I wasn't. It was tough. You know what I mean? It was very tough to just sit there and just wait and wait and wait.
It was a waiting game.
It was a huge waiting game.
Probably mentally grinding, right? When you have to wait all that time.
You didn't know what to expect. Some guys are saying the season won't happen till week 6 or week 8. All these crazy things, right? But it had to happen. I'm glad it happened. There's a lot of new things that, came into effect that I think I benefited from. No two-a-days, that was awesome. It really was. Because we just got done in Michigan State doing, crazy, not crazy two-a-days, but they were tough. They were hard. And then to go into that was awesome. But and then you get into the season, and then for me, I got in. I was on the 3rd or 4th string or something like that, and then start working my way up, get to the second string, and then I want to say it was Wednesday or Thursday during that first week, and the starting middle linebacker, John Goff, got a torn ACL in practice, shorts, not even pads, where he bumped the knee of another guy, and he walked off, no big deal. So I stepped in for rest of practice, and then I get a call late that night, like John's not, he's out for the season, and you're up, you're starting. And against the Redskins, I had my first game, and I ended up having like 5 or 6 tackles or whatever, and a couple tackles for loss. We lost that game, but everybody was very, very excited about me at the time. I think for 1 week, I was leading the league in tackles as a rookie, and I felt so good about myself, and it was awesome. And there was ups and downs with that too. The playbook got harder and harder for me because I didn't have training camp. Right, I went in no training camp, so no mini camp as well. We did have training camp, but no mini camp and no rookie camp either. So it took me a long time to learn that playbook. It was a huge learning curve, and just to adjust to being in the NFL, and things got tough for me. I made some mistakes. I'm not taking credit for all those mistakes. There's some stuff that was given to me, and that's okay. But yeah, and I got demoted, and I got started again. I went back and forth, and then they ended up bringing in Chase Blackburn, who's now the special teams coordinator for the Carolina Panthers now. And they brought him in, which honestly, in my honest opinion, he should have never left. He deserved to stay, but they cut him and whatever. But they brought him back, and did a great job. And I was his backup in the Super Bowl, and I still played in the Super Bowl as well too, though. But that whole year was crazy. I mean, we went into the playoffs 8-8.
Yeah.
Nobody counted us do anything. We weren't supposed to make it out the wild card against the Falcons, which was Gonzalez's last game. Right?
Now I want to ask you this because a lot of people really like to talk about coaches and things like that. Now, you were coached by Mark Dantonio and Tom Coughlin.
Correct.
And Michael Strahan famously came out and said, look, prior to 2008, 2009, Tom Coughlin was a beast. And I mean, he'd talk about if you don't show up 5 minutes early to practice, you're in big trouble.
TC time.
Exactly.
TC time.
And Strahan, had to go and say, look, if you ease up just a little bit, be it just a little bit more player-friendly, we can take this a long way. And look what happened. 2 Super Bowls, a man now that's widely respected, working with organizations and really helping organizations out. What was it like? What are some similarities between Coughlin and Mark Dantonio? What was your experience like working with that great coach?
Honesty. Both coaches told you where you stood to their best of ability, right? Everybody's human, but both coaches always like, listen, you're a starter, I need this from you. Or you're a backup, this is what you got to do to become a starter. But that honesty is what I loved about both coaches so much and respected. And it really molded me as a player. And, I'm taking this year off. I've been asked to coach a lot, so I'm taking this year off to really think about what I want to do or where I want to coach at, though. But yeah, as a coach, that's the best thing that you can offer a kid is just be honest with them, even though it's tough, sometimes to give that honesty. But
sounds like you felt like he was fair.
So I thought he was fair. I mean, if you don't produce, how can you play? It's the bottom line, and so. But yeah, the honesty was just so amazing. It really was.
Honesty is essential. And It's a bottom line industry, right? If you're not performing, you're not going to eventually play.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately? And I actually learned that term from Plaxico, because Plaxico ended up giving the speech at my rookie symposium. And he told everybody, he says, what have you done for me lately type of business? And, he said, I get it. You're excited about playing NFL, but understand, if you don't ball out, man, like you're going to get cut. And I tell people now, like the NFL and college too, if you're not dominant, then you're not relevant either. Just the way it is. And and consistency in that same stance at the same time is needed too, because you have to be consistently dominant. You just can't be 1 year this and 1 year that. Like it has to be consistent in order to stay relevant.
Then we have to ask, what was it like preparing for Tom Brady? Because arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You're working, you're seeing the film. You know that at that point in time in his career, he knows what's going on. He has the ability to read defenses. What were some of the messages that you had? What were the keys to trying to stop Tom Brady?
Interesting enough, the exact opposite of consistency, because Tom Brady loves consistency on defense. He loves for you to give him the same front every time. He's going to tear you up, though. We had to confuse him. You had to confuse him, throw something new at him as best you possibly could. At the same time, he knows that we're going to probably do something different as well, too. But to try to mix it up as much as you possibly can, that was tough, you know what I mean? Because we had to remember our stuff and try to remember what he was going to do, you know, all these different sets, and then preparing for Gronk and Adam, you know what I mean, all these different guys. Welker at the time when he was on the team, I mean, it was just tough, including the special teams as well too. You know, which was more so where I was at in that department as a key and core special teamer on that team. You know, that was tough as well too. But yeah, it was preparing for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was very, very tough, and you have to be going into the game knowing that this is gonna go down to the wire. You can't thinking you're just gonna blow a team out like that. You're nuts. There's no way. You have to go into the game knowing that it's gonna be a 4-quarter battle and possibly even overtime.
Did you have some butterflies going into that game too? Because I would imagine I would be a nervous wreck.
I'll be honest with you. I told people I have I call them pregame jitters. Every single game I play. Be honest with you, I never ever went into a game like I got this. You know what I mean? No, I think if it means something to you, you're always going to have a little pregame jitters a little bit. You know, and it's just one of those things. And don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? You're going to stay confident and everything, but you always have a little pregame jitters. I always tell people I always have pregame jitters till I get my first hit. And after I get my first hit in, I'm locked in, ready to go, though. But you always get those first pregame jitters, though.
What was that Giants locker room like? And playing alongside Eli Manning, being led by Eli.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
You know what? We went through a transformation process, I'll be honest with you, because prior to us beating the Jets, which led to us going on that long winning streak, we were on a 4-game losing streak first. And it was a real change in the locker room that needed to happen. And not only do I credit Eli for that, but I also like to credit Justin Tuck as well, too. On the defensive side of the ball. He was a guy that, you know, when we looked at him, he says, listen, he says, I get it. You know, you guys see me doing big things and making plays and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's going to take more than just me. And he kind of just brought himself down to our level as, you know, the other guys. I mean, because nobody really was getting paid that much as him on the defense was Justin Tuck. And, you know, we had Justin Tuck, JPP, Chris Kenny, oh my goodness, I'm missing a few guys. Oh, O.C. Umenor as well too.
That pass rush.
Oh my gosh,
extremely impressive, right?
Matthias Kiwanuka, who's 6'7", 250-pound defensive end. I mean, my gosh, you know, just amazing guys that can rush the passer as well too. But everybody wanted a sack. Everybody wanted the pick, you know, and then he just brought it down and he said, listen, we're all not going to have that, man. If we want to win, we got to do this together. You know, if we want to go far, go together, right? And so, and that's what happened. You know, that's what happened. We started to just realize, listen, man, if this is your game to ball out, then you ball out and I do what I got to do. And eventually, man, it just came to let's just win. Let's just win this game and do whatever it takes to win this game. If it needs to be extra in the film room or whatever, and extra field time to walk through plays, whatever the case may be, just let's make sure we can get it done. And so, and that's what we did, and we stayed consistent. We became more dominant, and eventually we won. Yeah.
And who was the biggest mentor to you on that Giants team?
Man,
a lot of guys to choose from right now.
It is a lot of guys to choose from. I was mentor. I would say Tuck was a guy who I leaned on a lot for advice and things like that. Michael Boley was also on that team. Who started next to me as well when I started. I would say those two guys I interacted with the most really helped me out a lot too. Yeah.
So the clock hit 0-0-0. The New York Giants are Super Bowl champs, champions of the world. A whole season put in place, all the hard work, all the time spent with the fellas, film work, the game, the season, all the pressure in the postseason, the ultimate pressure of going through and playing in the Super Bowl. What goes through your mind when it hits 0-0-0 and you're celebrating there on the field with your fellas?
Just life changing. At that moment I realized my life would never be the same, and it hasn't been. I'll be very honest with you. My life changed for the better in that standpoint. I mean, the calls, the texts, the media, going back home to Cincinnati, coming back here to Michigan. It was amazing, man. It really was. And, the parade, the key to the city,
To do it in New York, the media cap of the world.
Oh my gosh. It was amazing, having my face, on on the ESPN, meeting Al Roker and, all these really cool things, man. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, guys that you never thought you would meet too, right?
No, like Flavor Flav asked me for a picture,
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was so cool. So, that's the best way I can put it. It's life changing. It really is, because your mindset, everything you're doing would just never be the same. It won't, because forever people will say you're a champion.
So, something in particular I just wanted to know. What were you benching at the time, your rookie year?
Gosh, I was doing like 315, 335 for reps. Yeah, I was repping that pretty good. A couple times I hit 405, but yeah, about 405, 415, somewhere around there. Which I still to this day, you can always do better, right? So, but yeah, I was about there, trying to get back and do things like that, man. That was what I was benching though too. And then another thing, man, was proposing to my wife, on the field after the game, dude. Which I didn't think was going to make news. I didn't. When my mindset was like, I'm going to propose to her and I'm going to do it to the side, but I'm doing it on the field. What I didn't know was that it was the same time that Eli was receiving his MVP.
Oh, so because of that.
Award. So I'm thinking, like, hey, even better.
Discreetly.
Yeah, now even more discreet. And that was
It went viral, right? Spread like wildfire.
We're talking TMZ, Good Morning New York, ESPN. I mean, all the big stuff that, they wanted interviews here, everything. It was national, you know what I mean? And then we went to the ESPYs. I thought I was going to hit up at the ESPYs, you know what I mean? It was amazing. It really was. So just life-changing altogether, man. It really was. It's cool.
Really a whirlwind experience, right? It sounds like it, definitely. Every outlet picked up that. And
yeah, back home, everywhere, all over, man. I was getting hit up, man. So it was awesome. It really was, yeah.
Yeah. And now your Giants experience, where does that rank among the best experiences that you've ever had?
It's at the top. It is at the top because I matured during that year. We won that year. Proposed to my wife that year. It ranks at the top because I learned so much, And don't get me wrong, though. My time at Michigan State is right up there. You know what I mean? But to win where we're at, the way we did win, and going into playoffs, like I said before, 8-8.
Get that playoff experience and to come from where you guys were in the regular season, right?
Yeah.
An incredible run.
Incredible run. I mean, and then we had a lot of turnovers, as well, in our staff and our team. We had a lot of guys in and out. And I tell the young guys a lot. They say what the NFL is like, trying to make it. I'm like, I had a new guy next to my locker every week, if not every day, like a new player. And it was tough, seeing that, it was super, super, super tough.
Does that make you want to work harder than to keep your spot too? Because you
so
see
much.
It's a rotating door, guys are leaving, or revolving door, and guys are leaving left and right.
So much. It made me work that much harder and prepare in the off season, which I did. And when I got released from the Giants, Coach Coughlin put in the paper, it's one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Because I don't think in his heart of hearts he wanted to do that, but it was as they say, a numbers game in the business, right? So, but it is what it is, and so it's all right though. But my name will forever be on a Lombardi Trophy.
That's awesome. A testament to you then, and your hardworking ethic, right, or way of going about things and being a hard worker, right?
Oh my goodness, and I'm very honest, and I tell this to the kids a lot too. that it's about being clear about your goals and what you want. And when you can be clear about what you want, then all of a sudden everything that doesn't help you get to where you get to starts to fade away. And that's what started to happen for me, is that it started back in my senior year of college or junior college. I started being more and more clear about what I wanted. And eventually all the things that weren't going to help me got out of my way, and what I needed to be with me or needed with me on my path and my journey started to happen, and it came into fruition.
Now, post-retirement, what has Greg Jones been up to?
It's funny you say that. I laugh because on the intro song, it's saying I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I was like, man, that kind of sounds like me.
You got a ton of jobs,
yeah.
don't you?
So right now, currently, I just took over as a vice president for Vein Protective Gear. It's just a mouth guard company. Right now, we're developing some new technologies coming out soon that I'm not able to talk about.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Spill the beans later.
Yeah,
on another segment, let's say.
I would be in super big trouble if I did that.
And don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that though. But right now, we have a V1 right now, which we're calling our first mouth guard that has 2 sensors in it to let people know based on G-force. If they get hit hard enough, those sensors will turn bright red, and you'll know if you need to get checked for a concussion. We're not saying that you have a concussion or anything like that, just that you need to get checked. It's extra precaution for both the player, or all three, the player, the coach, and the physical trainer at that time being as well too. So that's the thing. I'm kind of got a lot of my energy at right now. The other thing as well, I'm still with Legacy Football as well as the assistant national director. Alongside Justice Asante, has built an amazing program. We got a lot of big things going right now. More currently coming up is our All-Star game that's coming up for all the players without scholarship. So it's an amazing opportunity. The thing for me for that week will be opportunity, because it's going to be all those guys that say, Coach, I need to do this, and what I got to do. Here's your opportunity, and it's going to be on Fox Sports, And,
that's huge.
And so I want to, commend Justin again. I told him face to face, and I gave him a big hug, but he fought so hard to get the job done. I'm so proud of him and what he's been doing there. I'm also with the Alliance Coalition for Healthy Communities, and my program is called Life is Your Playbook. Make every day your best play. And basically what that program does is I go around, or I have other speakers going around talking about the importance or awareness really of alcohol and drug abuse among high school athletes. And it's something that I'm super passionate about. I grew up in the inner city of Cincinnati, and I saw a lot of athletes who I thought were amazing, even better than me, have poor decisions and end up dead or in jail. And and it's tough to watch that. And I get it. The environment was part of that as well too. But at the end of the day, we all make decisions, and so that's something that I go around, I talk, and I share some stories and personal stories that I share with the guys that happened to me in my personal life that I can reflect on as well. That let them see the other side of things, that what happens when you make the wrong decisions. Because at that high school age, you feel invincible, you feel like you can't be stopped and you're never going to make a wrong decision. And now with these guys, with the guys and girls with the phones, that's the information generation, and they can look up and do anything they want to do in a heartbeat. There's more younger high school entrepreneurs than there are adult, entrepreneurs out there as well too. And so the reason why I bring it up, because a lot of those guys and girls don't see the opportunity that they have in front of them. And I just was telling, I was talking at Lynn for high school today, and I was telling them, I did a 2-day speech with them where I talked 2 different days, but for 2 hours. But I was just talking to them like, this is it. This is the last time you're going to be able to be with somebody for 4 years, You learn so much about somebody when you're with them.
Life changes quick, right? When you get to college too, you have to change. You become more mature because of life experiences, right? That you have in college that you don't get the opportunity to have in high school.
It's tough. And then the other thing I'm doing as well too, I shouldn't say thing, but another business that me and my wife have together. We've joined Rodan and Fields, a skincare company that allows us to have our own business. We have about 180 girls underneath us right now, and guys as well too on our team across the U.S. and Canada. And it's an amazing business that's provided so much for me and my wife, a lot of free time, and it's great, man. You know, we get to travel and do things. You know, the company provides all expense paid trips sometimes. The convention was amazing. We just left New Orleans. We had a great time for about 6 days. It was awesome, man. So we got to learn a little bit, have a little fun. Had some new products that got released, man. So I'm a pretty busy guy, man, and I still do my trainings on the side. I'm by request, though, so that's a personal thing. If you want to get trained by me, please message me. I'm not soliciting anything, but just message me and go from there.
So you have an array of jobs. I mean, how do you make time for yourself, your personal life? And it sounds like you got stuff going on all the time, too.
With all that, there are still a lot of gaps where I can find time with my family, believe it or not. There really are, because I don't train every day, you know. I'm not always talking about skincare every day, our mouth guards, our legacy, or anything, you know. There are still a lot of gaps where I'm able to find time with my family, and it's great, you know. I don't have any really set office hours. I create my own schedule from every day, and I go from there.
Now, I do want to get a sense real fast about the current 2018 Michigan State Spartans, because they are ranked number 1 in terms of run defense, and they got a great linebacker, too, in Joe Bacci.
Yes.
I know he's got a lot of talent, a big game coming up against Michigan.
Is that a big game, really?
Big game. That game really is going to be amazing to watch. A lot of intensity on both sides. But what's the scouting report on Joe Bacci? I think he's got a lot of talent.
Me and Joe have talked. He's came out to our facility at Legacy to take a peek for training. But yeah, we've talked, and he's just such a great guy first. You know what I mean? Let's just start with the off the field stuff. Everybody that I've talked to in the staff and in the community, they love him. They think the world of him, and I think that's a true testament of the type of person he is. You know, he's a really good guy. But him on the field, man, he does, and the people I say remind them of me, and I totally agree with that. I really do, and I've had talks with him. I just told him, I said, man, if you can break all my records, man, do everything in the process, beat Michigan. But, you know, this game coming up, the scouting report on him, honestly, he's physical, he's cerebral. He's the leader on that team. I think he's one of the heartbeats, without a doubt, on that team, just all around, not just on defense. He's a great tackler. I think at the point of attack, he gets guys down. And he has amazing ability to jump up and get passes and everything, as we saw in that first game against Montana State, or
Utah State.
Yep. My goodness, sorry. Against Utah State as well. And so it was one of those things that, you know, I love Joe, and I think he's a great guy, man, great player.
So Michigan State, how huge is that rivalry? And do you get up more for that game too, because it is Michigan?
Oh yeah. It's a defining moment. That game is a defining moment. I'll be very honest with you. Your career is defined whether or not how many times you beat Michigan. I'm just being honest with you.
And you remember that head-to-head record when you're playing against Michigan, don't you?
All the time. You know, I get reminded, and, you know, I get guys, you know, hey, you know, how many times you beat? I'll beat Michigan 3 times, you know.
That's right.
I beat, you know, and so – and no matter what, how many, you know, championships, whatever, that's what you're defined by. I mean, when we went 3-9, it's like you're defined whether or not you
go out and get that game done, though. Still, it's a Super Bowl, especially in a season like that, right?
Yeah. Get that game done, and then so. That's a defining moment. If you're playing at Michigan State, I'll be honest with you. If you're playing at Michigan, that's a defining moment of that game and where you stack up on that game. Seriously.
Did you really think Sparty would win last weekend against Penn State on the road at Penn State? Big underdogs.
I'll be honest with you. The reason why I believe we could win, because we have done it before on the road against a big team, right? We did it against Ohio State with a backup quarterback, right? So I'm thinking to myself, the few things, everything that I thought about that had to go right went right. We didn't allow that many big plays from Penn State. I'll be very honest with you, they are a great opponent. I've always had respect for Penn State since I was playing. I've always had respect for them. I played in the Joe Pa area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a tremendous amount of respect for them. I thought this. If we do well on special teams, right, because they have some great returners, we limit their return game, right? We make our plays when we got to make them, and we play as best we can mistake-free, right? Because the game, like against Northwestern, we had so many penalties and drop balls and all these other things, right? if we can limit those things and make our plays, we will have a shot. I'm not saying you're gonna be perfect, because no game is perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
But you do those things, and we will have a shot. And I think we did that. Now, I'll be honest with you. When we ran a fake field goal,
Yeah.
That was surprising.
I covered my eyes.
Right?
You were scared to see the end
I
result
was
of that,
scared to see the end result
I
of
bet.
that, and my heart dropped, and I knew I get it. It's a big game coming up. We got to pull out some stops. I get it. The fake punt, I love the fake punt. Awesome. That was great. That was outstanding. I didn't have zero issues with that. Even if we didn't get it, I know people say, "Oh, we got it." No, but even if we didn't get it, I still had zero, because that right there, if we don't get it, we're still in good enough field position. They get the ball, our defense as well. Maybe they get a field goal out the situation. But to get that fake field goal, almost freaking score on the thing, man. I mean, oh my goodness. Had he not stepped out of bounds there, I was hanging at the edge of my seat.
But that was exhilarating for you, right?
Oh my goodness. 4th down like that, to get a huge game like that, you know what I mean? And send a shot at Penn State. Hey, it is what it is. And then and to me, I love the fake punt, because it sets up so much, because now there's nobody rushing their punter. We had a new punter in, with our guy going down. So we had a new punter going in. He's still getting his feet, settled as well too. But yeah, man, I really thought that we had a shot to win. I'm not saying I knew for sure, like I was 100%. I wasn't, I'll be honest with you. But I knew I gave ourselves a chance to win. That's all you could ask for.
Why do you think Dantonio has a knack for pulling off those upset victories when everybody else thinks there's no chance Barty wins this contest?
Right. Coach D is a lot about respect, like I talked about before. And the second you say that we shouldn't win a game, they immediately, it's like, I'm going to earn that respect. Not to prove you wrong, but you're going to respect the fact that you better give us a chance. Because there was all these predictions of 56 points on us and 37-7, all these things, right, like a blowout. And I think he kind of got a little whiff of that, and he knew what we were stacked up against, though, and he said there's no way, and he's going to give us a shot to win.
Now, I'm happy to have Greg Jones here, former linebacker, Michigan State. I want to play you a piece of audio because I want to set the scene. One of the most exhilarating moments as a fan myself, being a strong Spartan supporter, I want to play this audio and take us through this play, a famous play known by all Michigan State supporters.
So now the heat's on young Dan Conroy. In overtime, 4th down and 14. The ball placed down at the 36-yard line, right hash mark. Aaron Bates will hold. Alex Shackleton will snap. Dan Conroy with the biggest kick of his life. Oh, they'll fake it. Bates throws it. He's got him! Wide open! He's got Charlie Gant inside the 10!
Charlie
He can
Gant.
walk in!
You know what? He went to Detroit
Spartans
Mercy
win.
then, too,
Touchdown,
for like his graduate studies. So I got to know Charlie a little bit, and he worked with the athletic facilities, like operations team and everything, and the athletic department, so I got to know him a little bit.
Now. He's a
Yeah,
PA
look at him.
position assistant. I'm
He's really
happy-
worked his way up,
so happy
man.
for
Smart
him.
dude.
Yes.
The
Good
play
guy.
known as Little Giants, what was it like?
I would like to say the play, people know it as Little Giants, but it's actually called the annexation of Puerto Rico. Okay? Because nobody could say that fast.
So it became Little Giants. Yeah,
yes.
much easier to come out of the mouth,
Yes. So that week,
That's funny.
Coach had installed that, and he says, "Greg, we're going to run this." I said, "Wow."
What did you think when you saw it? Did you think it could be pulled off when
Without
you
a doubt.
first saw it?
Without a doubt. There's so much, man. And I remember just recently going back and looking at it. I didn't know that time had ran out. I didn't know that. And when we got it off, I didn't really see, like, every time I look at it, I always forget Le'Veon toppling over some guy. And then, but that play of the day or at the game, it was the play got called. Everybody knew it, and with that, everybody was said, just act normal.
Right, act normal.
Yeah,
As much as you possibly could.
yeah, like do something that you normally do. I'm like, all right. And so I was standing next to Eric Gordon, my close friend, who's now at MCM Staffing, as a partner at MCM Staffing. Super happy for Gordon and Real Loke. And I was standing next to him, and he was like, he says, bro, this is going to be freaking nuts.
Yes.
And I said, I just hope we get it.
Okay, now, obviously, the one that everybody wants to talk about when we talk about the recent history of the Michigan State rivalry. Where were you? Because I was at a house that was pro-Michigan.
Oh, I know what's coming. I was at the game at the Big House.
Yes,
The
this
snap.
is great.
Yes.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the left.
Look at Greg. He was just laughing, by the way, right before the snap happened.
I laughed.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when I saw
Listen.
that press box. I was in the press box, went silent. Went
Wow.
dead silent at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great moment. It's great to
Great
talk.
moment for you guys.
Yes.
For me, a little
Let's
bit. Not
relive
as
it.
big of a moment for me, but anyway.
Where were you? Because I think it's a sentinel moment because every Spartan fan was spinning like a top. It's the sentinel moment,
Well,
man.
you
It's
guys,
great.
you guys couldn't believe it, right? That it happened. Nobody saw that coming.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Talk about honesty. I was actually still playing in the CFL.
So you missed out on seeing that live, you're saying?
I missed out.
Oh,
seeing that
man.
live.
He missed it live.
I missed it live. It hurt.
Wow. I bet.
I went back, watched the whole game.
Well, you
and
had to.
I had to. So I kind of had it live in my own head. But
Yeah, right.
but that game was awesome. I laughed because I can't remember who's the announcer again. I can't remember who was that.
Sean McDonough, who called Monday Night Football for a little bit. Now he's back to
Yes.
calling college football games, too.
When I always laugh when I hear "whoa,"
Yeah, whoa, right?
that his voice, everything, how he did.
Oh, it changed.
Right.
It was like pure excitement and joy, and it was just amazing, man. And I remember like just watching that game, and I got all these texts and everything, and
Yes.
everybody immediately like, Greg, did you see the game? I'm like, no, I missed it.
working.
What happened?
Like, I hope we won.
What are you talking about?
I tried rushing home.
Uh-huh.
My wife was like, babe, we did it. I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, you just got to watch it. You just got to watch it. And I'm watching this thing, and I'll be very honest with you. I'm thinking to myself, all he had to do, he didn't even have to kick the ball. He
Ran the
didn't
end
have to
zone.
kick the
Yeah,
ball.
run the end zone. You can do whatever
Throw
you
the
want.
ball.
Yeah.
Do anything.
Just
what
catch
he
it and
did.
get down.
Just
Almost,
catch
too.
it and get
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
and that was the one thing he didn't do.
Exactly.
And on top of the fact, I always laugh because I'm very detailed about this stuff. I always laugh because it almost looks like you can see he literally, as he's trying, it looks like he like almost gave the game away.
Yes.
Because with both hands, the ball left both of
Yes.
his hands into our guy's hands and us to run it in and get escorted. I mean, that was the coolest escort, by the way, too. By our guys.
Exactly. And
Well, how about the kid, the face, right? That went
Yeah.
viral, too, of that kid in the stands
kid in
after
the
that play
stands.
happened.
Yes.
Now, Greg, the amazing part is because, on this side of town, there's a lot of Michigan support. We hear a lot about the tradition of Michigan. Everything that Michigan does is great. All Spartan supporters have to say is trouble with the snap, drop the mic, we walk off. We hold our head held high. That's all we got to say. We can listen to Shea Patterson's great, Jim Harbaugh's God, whatever we want. We just turn and look and go, trouble with the snap, peace, turn out, and we feel good because it's a great memory because it was on their field. The shock that the shock that it sent through the entire college football scene. Trouble with the snap. We got our own play, and it was great. And it's great to relive it with you.
You
man.
mean
It's
you guys
awesome.
don't feel bad for Michigan faithful having to
Heck no.
live that
I
through
am
it live
not.
to relive it now
I am
at
not.
the Big House?
Tell me, didn't I just perk up your mood just a little bit here and there?
You know what? You perked on my mood. You know what else
Made
perked-
his day probably,
You know what else
right?
perked on my mood? I was on, I'm on Facebook, and there's this page for a lot of Spartans, and they highlighted since 2008 to now, right? How many wins do you think Michigan has?
1, 2.
I was going to say
Yeah,
two, yeah.
that's it.
2 victories, and that's it.
Wins. 2 wins.
Hey, it's
So-
all about
so-
Harbaugh. Come on.
So you talk about tradition.
Uh-huh. Who has
That's-
it now? You're
right.
saying it's state. Clear
Right.
cut,
That's
right?
all I'm saying.
Head to head.
That's
yeah,
all I'm saying.
It is in state's favor.
Head to head in 8 years, right? 2008 to 9 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two wins.
That's it.
That's it. And I remember all those games. I even, because I was a part of the change from 2008 2010, those 3 years, and we won some close games. But one of those games went to overtime, right? Me standing toe next to Brandon Graham. And we almost got into it at
I bet.
the
Yeah.
toss. Don't get me wrong, BG. I'm
A little bit of trash talking, though, right? Going back and forth.
I'm still, I'm still happy for BG. And win the Super Bowl, along with another former Spartan, Nick Foles, as well too. But yeah, I was like, man, this is amazing. So to see the turnaround where this came to, man, I'm pumped, and I'm so freaking excited for this game. I got my tickets, and I got my parking pass.
I already got it all set, huh?
We got a babysitter. We are ready to take off and go. Yeah.
So where can people, if they want to support your projects and find you, where can they find you via social media, Facebook, Instagram? Plug your stuff.
Yes, I am on Instagram. It's GregJ513, and then I'm on Twitter. It's just Greg Jones 5353 on Twitter. I do not have a Snapchat. You can't find me on Facebook. It's just my name, Greg Jones. But yeah, those are my three right now that I have. I may do Snapchat. I think about it. It's a lot going on that thing. But yeah, those are all the places you can find me as well too.
Greg, thanks for all the time, man. Thanks for coming in here and sitting with us in studio at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, man. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, man. I had so much fun, guys. Really, man. This was awesome, man. Thank you.
Great stuff from you, and good luck to Sparty Nation on Saturday, and good luck to the Maize and Blue as well, to Wolverine Nation. I have to say it.
No.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I had to go there. Right. You're right to counter with that, though, as well. Greg, adios. John,
man.
thanks to you guys. Adios.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.